Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Kenny Boucher, and I'm joined tonight by the always epic and my best friend in the world, Juice, and of course, my second best friend in the world, Jason. What's up, guys?
Yo, what's happening?
What is going on?
Man, just another beautiful day in the office.
Did you make your food truck?
I was actually, I'm in the bathroom right now, obviously. I'm going to be doing tonight's podcast completely from the shitter.
The executive office. Boy,
Yes.
moving on up.
The Oval
standard-
office.
The Oval office.
Standard location in which Juice does most of his great Army list building.
Actually, every great Army list in the world has been done on the shitter. Yeah, everybody wants seeing all over Facebook. Oh man, show me. Everybody's sharing pictures of their Beats Lab, and I'm not man enough to show everybody mine yet. Like, it's just kind of full of shit.
There's that one picture of you at like a Adepticon sitting on the toilet with your arms crossed.
Oh yeah,
with dramatic lighting.
Yep, that picture does exist.
Somebody see if they can track that picture down and turn that into a meme and have it say the Beats Lab.
Yep.
Dang.
What a good time.
Absolutely, man. We got a lot going on, obviously, this week. And first off, Mike Haspel is in New York City Comic-Con right now, hosting a panel, doing all sorts of nerd stuff out there. So that's why he's not with us. And Robbie B. Lil Robbie B.
Yep. Or Big Bobby G, who is, because he gets mistaken all the time for Gilliman.
It's true. He does. Swole, jacked. But he's out doing some work right now. I think he was running around writing articles, doing videos, so he just couldn't make it tonight. So he gave us a whole list of things that we need to look at, and we're trying to do our best without Rob to tell us how to do our job. This is probably going to suck. So I apologize in advance.
Wheels are off.
Man, you ain't lying.
There's no restriction now. It's straight up just shit stories for the next 55 minutes.
I was going to say poop jokes in full effect. We got this.
Yep.
That's too easy. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to show you the girth of our tabletop marketplace without Rob. And it's good. Without Rob, we're a little short, but I think we have the girth. As defined earlier, we are the Avengers B Squad. So we're currently 2 fat and gets tired, quick, Incredible Hulks. And Jason is.
I'm a slow Flash. Wait.
No, you're
universe.
You're Jarvis, but on Windows XP. Is that what?
That's right. I'm Jarvis on Windows XP.
So here's the short list Rob sent me for Tabletop Marketplace for October 14th. Death Guard, Biologus Putrefier. I don't know what the H that is.
Making stuff up. Not even words.
Says that's a plastic clam pack, $25 US. Death Guard Plague Marine Icon Bearer, also a plastic clam. That's also 25 bones. Which I assume is like what, $70 Canadian, $80 Canadian.
Yeah. You know what?
100.
I love. I'm glad that GW is still coming out with these like $20, $25 clan packs. Like, it goes to the argument against why I was just talking with Dean in the Beats Lab the other day, was like, going around, they're doing tournaments and stuff. And I'm like, yo, get the hell away from these $15 entry fees. Like, you want people to take you serious? Like, and charge more than $15 to play, or if you're going to charge 15, just let it be free. Play for free and just give price support away. Okay. But, because I'm like, yo, you can't get shit for $15. But guess what? GW is constantly coming out with some cool ass individual models or, whatever for $20, $25. So it's definitely, we need to set the tournament scene to the local tournament scene to clan pack dollars.
Yes. Clan pack, the new currency. Speaking, we got a third one. Death Guard Plague Marine Champion is another plastic clam for $25. So that's 3.
That's it. Kenny, we just figured it out. They are straight up just clams.
Clams. Clam pack is the new currency.
Yep.
We've got Death Guard Plague Marines plastic box. So that's $50 coming out. Horus Heresy, The Silent War. Imagine that's a book.
It will have pages in it. Spoiler alert.
Are the Plague Marines $5 to a box? Do we know this?
I don't know. I'd imagine for $50 and thinking about what I know about them, yes, probably five Plague Marines. $50. That lines up with what we got in Dark Imperium and everything. We also got 2 more books. We got Shadow Sword and Baneblade. So those are novels. That's what he said. He simply wrote novel here. I mean, like, I don't even know what we're talking about novels. So.
7 in a box, everybody's saying.
7?
Yep. I like
Makes sense for that aspect. You know what? GW has limitless names for stuff when they just break it down to today's book will be called Last Gun. Plasma gun.
Yeah.
Power sword.
You're right. Baneblade. God.
Baneblade. Got it. You know, next week's book is Carnifex.
Damn, G-dubs. Step it up.
That's what we do when Robbie B isn't here. We just make fun of names. Instead of giving actual content on stuff of what cool shit is going to be in the Baneblade and what epic stories of heroism, we just talk shit.
Speaking of heroism, Rob couldn't be here with us tonight, and neither could Mike Haspel. But Mike Haspel's here with us in spirit. He just won Tacticon, which is a annual convention in Denver, and that's the 40K tournament. He won the Tacticon battalion only, 2,000 point 40K event. Congratulations, and he did it with Grey Knights.
With Grey Knights, yeah.
Animal.
So that was a big deal.
Absolute animal. Hey, will you, Kenny, wasn't there kind of something cool to that tournament?
It was battalion only, so that was a big deal. So he decided that if it's battalion only, he's going to bring his Grey Knights because he felt like that's the best chance for Grey Knights to win.
Yo, how cool is that a tournament actually pulled the trigger on a battalion only, like? And it's only an event that happened once a year. So, like, if it didn't go over well, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people, and it could hurt them the next year. So, shout out to the people that run Tacticon for making a bold stance. Because if I'm not mistaken, Kenny, I haven't heard of any other events that had a name kind of attached to it, shy of a local RTT, that actually made a bold change like that.
No, correct. We talked about going battalion only in the early days of 8th to offset some of this crazy stuff, and no one's actually pulled the trigger. So yeah, big shout out. And I believe Haspel's list was an interesting list. I think he had like 3 interceptor squads, 3 dread knights. I think he had, basically the list was that through his Gate of Infinities and teleport shunts, he can put like 115 bolter shots right in your face on turn 1 and charge you with a bunch of stuff. So it was a really aggressive, fast, lots of marine body kind of Grey Knight list.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to score a bunch of objectives, win a bunch of games. When he was outmatched by his opponent, he was able to play a lot cagier and win the game in his heels. So he pulled it down. And also, I guess on the subject of tournaments, Jason Craze came back from his Infinity tournament undefeated.
No.
Wait, is that the opposite?
So the way the story goes, and it's totally nonfiction. This is reality this is the real radio. And what I did is, due to all of the negative energy going on in the world, I picked this weekend at Arizona Armageddon here, big Infinity tournament here in the States, to produce a very humanitarian effort to try to show my brotherly love to the world. And I was handing out W's to the person across the table from me. Lots of crying, lots of hugs given out. People just couldn't believe my generosity. And I propelled 5 players to much higher levels than they would have ever normally gotten to. So I feel very good about it.
Humanitarian all day.
There it is.
I got my ass handed to me. Like, literally, it was just not. Oh my God. We don't even have to talk about it.
But it was
Don't even have to
Infinity.
talk about it.
It was Infinity, so that's cool. Because you that's the tournament scene you're most vested in right now, right?
Yes, yeah, that's the game that I play on the tournament circuit, as you know, so to speak. We do a lot of obviously the other small skirmish games and stuff, but Infinity is the one where I spend all my time. If I'm gonna leave the house and go roll dice, it's generally gonna be Infinity. So.
Hey, Jason, I don't know if I've ever asked or if, obviously, if I did, I can't remember. How long does a Infinity round last?
In tournament play, it's anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours tops, generally.
Okay.
And you're going to see a lot of hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And that's a pretty fast clock, so to speak. It depends. There's been a lot of trends in Infinity to go, as with all war games, you know, you get the meta starts changing and you get what we call dude spam, right? You bring 150 model GW list, you know, to a 40K tournament or more, you know, where you got just 150 troops and guard or something like that. There's that in Infinity too, although you're going to have a max of 20 models. But 20 models is a lot, you know, because each one activates and has its own, you know, acts like a unit. And so it can be rushed, but I liked it. This one was 2 hours, and I felt like, you know, the godsend is that I was playing a new army. I always go into it with kind of, and we've talked about this before, you know, you go into a tournament, set some goals for yourself. Mine is always when I'm playing a new army to just make sure that I get both myself and my opponent get all 3 rounds played, and that we're good on the clock. We're not sweating it. Nobody's getting stressed or, you know, salty because, hey, you're using too much time or slow playing me. And we literally finished every game. I mean, the big problem that I had, you know, no jokes, this tournament is overkill. My list was too killy. I literally blew my opponents off the table and didn't get enough time to complete objectives. You can't win if you table your opponent and like they got 2 objectives and you got none, because the game ends the turn after they got tabled. So no matter where it's at. And so if you like accidentally kill enough of their points to put them into retreat, you could actually lose the game, even though you're playing much better than them. And that happened to me 2 times. So
wow.
Yeah, I literally killed so many points. Yeah. It's actually really good because Infinity's built around more of what we call specialist operations missions, where you kill as a tactic to open up board states so that you can get the mission objectives done. But if you go full on kill mode, and there are full on kill mode missions as well, there weren't any in this tournament, unfortunately. My list would have probably been top 10 if we'd have just been, hey, just roll dice and kill the enemy. I was very good at that, but the not so good at pushing buttons, as we call it. And I just, you know,
it makes sense. I mean, actually, that's where I get most of my success in 40K is that I don't really kill a lot of people. I don't really table people in 8th edition. I haven't tabled even I haven't tabled anybody in 8th edition. I typically end the game with less models than my opponent, but I've practically won every game I've played out here locally of 8th edition. It's always been my system, like my style. So I totally understand the system that if you're the total alpha strike, you're totally, and that's the term we would use, right? But if your goal is to always set your army up to just completely destroy the opponent, that doesn't mean you're always going to win.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be looking at the mission at hand and knowing the rules, knowing your army very well, knowing what you can get away with, knowing the opponent's army enough, especially in games like Infinity, where it's all points based to go into retreat. If I kill 75% of the enemy army, which leaves you at like roughly 75 points, if you go to 74 points left out of unit cost on the enemy team, they go into retreat. And there's only a couple of missions that are kill missions where retreat doesn't count. But most other missions, literally, if I put you into retreat at the end of your next turn, game's over. And I put a dude into retreat turn 1. And then I moved first without knowing it, put him into retreat. I was trying in my head to add up points. I just had to clear table spots because the objectives were kind of in his deployment zone that you had to get a unit over there. And so I was like, well, I'll just kill a big swath of his dudes so I can then next turn move right up in there without any repercussions. And at the end of it, it was like we added it up and he goes, yeah, I'm in retreat. I was like, well, I just lost the game. Because in his turn, he was able to do one of his what we call classified objectives, just a thing off to the side. And that got him 1 objective point. And I lost the game 1-0.
I'm not going to lie. Possibly a little extreme.
Yeah, I feel like it is too.
I feel like it's a little extreme version of what I just said. You know,
Yeah, it is. I mean, because at the end of turn one, my list is super killy. It's not built to be super killy. Well, I say that. I mean, I didn't build it with the intention of being like, I'm going to, like bathe the universe in blood. That wasn't my idea. It has specialists. It has the ability to do all of the objectives. But I do have some big guns in it that are very, very heavy units and hard to kill. And, so I just peek them around a corner and I got, you're -9 to hit me. I'm +3 to hit you. That's good dice every day. I'm going to shoot you. Bam. And then I play against, there's a lot of armies that bring a lot of dude spam, and none of their dudes are very tough. They just have a lot of them. And if I can, on 10 orders, kill 11 dudes, 12 dudes, you might be down to 10% of your army left. And I literally lost that game. He had 10 points of his 300-point list left. And I had 328 points left at the end of the game.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you walk away from the table going, I am an idiot. I'm such an idiot.
I mean, yeah, if I knew that rule, I'd be a little sad, but also I'd be like, I feel like there needs to be a little tweaking, because I don't think you should build core mechanics into the game that penalize somebody for murdering units in a war game.
Yeah. I get where they're coming from, because they really are trying to stand.
I don't know anything about your game, but I'm like, how about 2 turns?
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like it's that you should, rather than the game ends at the end of the player who is in retreat at the end of their turn, it should pass one more turn to the opponent. Because it's actually not, if I table you and I still have the units on the board and the orders to do the objectives, I feel like that's kind of real life, right? I just blew the shit out of you.
That's how we played 40K for years. That if you,
and now I'm going to go press these buttons. Now, if I don't have enough orders and the objective is clear across the table and I didn't set my assault up properly to be able to then complete the objective on my next turn, I deserve to lose. But in each one of my games, I killed who I needed to kill, got into position to where on my next turn I was going to win the game flat out, like no stopping me. But because I killed 2 extra points over what I thought and unit cost is not open information in the game. I can't ask him, hey, if I kill this guy, are you going to go into retreat? That's not something he has to tell me by the rules. So again, it becomes difficult. It's like, well, I got to kill that guy because he's going to hurt me if he's not dead next turn. So I kill that guy, and then by 2 points, he's in retreat. And it's his turn, and all he does is say, okay, well, I do this one objective and pass the rest of my turn. Game's over. I win. So I do agree with you there. It should default back to you getting one more turn, and then game's over. Yep. And then I would be perfectly happy with it. But I feel like, Corvus Belli with Infinity is trying to, I think in some cases they're trying too hard to not be 40K, to not be War Machine. And it creates these kind of open areas for, these kind of rules to take place. But,
Yeah. Simple fix. Let's see what they do. I mean, we've played 40K for years, where it's just like, if you're playing a mission where like getting on the objectives matters and you table them, it's like sort of assume that you get the rest of the turns to move your models. So like, you don't just max. We've played for years, Juice, right? Where like, I tabled you, I get a max victory. No. This is a progressive mission objective. You don't just get 30 points. If it's not possible for your army, if you only have this, and this, you get to spend. We'll let you move your models for the remaining amount of turns to see what you actually would get. Like, because you can't score more than what you could score. Still, if it's
and there's a couple caveats to that. And if it's like, if there's no time left on the clock, if like it's been diced down or something like that, and there's no other turns. There's no other turns. No matter if you have, no models are left. Also, you still have to roll to see if the game continues. So, like, if it's turn 5, you got to see if there's a turn 6. If there's a turn 6, then you would be able, and you have the inches, you can get on top of said objective. Yeah,
and I think that's the point, is that I should be rewarded if you play that way.
You should be able to move. If it's a 3-turn game, you should be able to fucking move your last turn.
Yeah. Also, there's always a quasi-constant, you got the wipeout rule. Or massacre rule, where if you did table your opponent, you got a bonus, if the max score that you can get somebody is 30, you got a extra bonus 3 points for tabling your opponent, or something.
So let's say you got 15 points and tabled them. Now you got 18, it was.
Yeah, cool. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of room for those types of things to make, number one, to make it pleasant for everybody, so there's not a negative play experience. In Infinity, it is. I hate to say that there's a kind of a highbrow mentality, but there's a bunch of guys that are like, well, you just didn't play correctly. And I'm like, but I feel like I did. I feel like I took advantage of his deployment. I feel like I did everything that tabletop war games were about. And my dice were hot. I can't, that's all the RNG part. And every time I rolled dice, he died. That's him putting his units at risk on turn one. He could have hidden them behind buildings. He didn't. I moved. I was aggressive with my movement. I got to the position where now I'm set up on objectives, and the game ended. So yeah, it's kind of tough.
I'd be like, word, keep telling yourself that, brother. You got tabled, son.
Yeah.
Like you lost all your dudes. I didn't.
Yeah. And that happened to me literally in 2 games. So it's like, well, maybe I need to dim my list down a little bit or something. I don't know. I just need to be less aggressive, I guess, or let the opponent go first.
If it is a part of the game system, you need to play to it. That's how it always is.
Yeah, I need to play to it because I'm not doing that very well. And I normally do, but most of my lists aren't this killy. It just is a factor of the I'm playing.
Fourth edition Necrons, most tournaments that I played, it didn't matter. If you table somebody, you got a max victory. Like that's just what it was, right? I played every Necron player in the history of ever that I played. I didn't care what the mission was. I was like, what's your phase out number?
Yeah. What's that 75%?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What is 75%? Oh, 13. Got it.
So kill everything.
That is my mission this game.
Yep. Max. Yeah. So pretty solid week. I also had a tournament this weekend on Saturday, 40K, not Infinity. Third straight tournament win at the local scene. Big shout out to everybody here at Next Gen Games and Comics. Jeremy for running it. Alan, one of my buddies out here. Joe, Luke. Luke with his towel, who every tournament I got to play him, and he gets a little closer to beating me. This was a hard one. He got real close. I barely won by 2 points this time.
Luke is ready with his "I am your father," Kenny. So just be ready.
And I always catch him with a little trick he's not ready for. He's a younger guy. I've been playing way longer than him. And what I like to do before the tournament, since he's my biggest rival out there, is I send him my list before the tournament.
Oh.
And I was like, "Here's my list, bro. Any questions?" Because I put I had 2 Malefic Lords, and I put the rules of the Malefic Lord on my army list so he would know what they did. And he was like, "Oh shit, you even put the rules on those 2 Forge units on here for me." It's like, "Yep, here's my list. I'm not going to change it. There's some tricks in here that be ready for, but this is it." He's like, "All right, thanks, brother." You know what I'm saying? So this time it was close, but I always pull some trick out. Like the first time where it was close, or the first time I blew him out. Then the second time I barely won by the minimum points necessary to get the massacre, which is you got to win by 5 points to get the major victory. And the only reason I pulled that down was because on the very first, we played tactical. One of the first cards I drew was if you can hold all 6 objectives, you get 3 plus D3 tactical points. And I'm one of the very few people who could do that with the way my armies always have been. So I was able to do that out the gate before any drop commanders came in and literally roll a convert and get 6 tacticals off that one card. But of course, one of them was like kill a unit, got a 7th. One of them was like hold objective 1, got an 8th. You know what I mean? So it was like first blood and 8 points. And throughout the course of the game, because I was so aggressive, I was out of position. He was able to whittle me down, and I barely held on to a 5-point lead. This game, he had me. Literally, it was tight. But I went second, and I was like, well, there's still an advantage going second because we're playing big guns. So he's getting bonus points for killing my Mauler Fiends. So I was giving up these bonus points, but heavy supports are objective secure big guns. So I had 1 Mauler Fiend left, snuck in the backfield, tagged this objective, and he didn't count on that because objectives in the game were worth 3 points. Right? Yeah. So I was like, boom, okay, game's over. Like we had like literally 90 seconds or like 62 seconds left on the clock or some shit like that. And I was like, there it is, good game. It was like turn 5. He was like, all right, man, let's tally it up. I was like, I feel like I won by 2 points. He's like, how? And I was like, that heavy support Mauler Fiend, bruh. He's like, no. And think about it. I won by 2 points, and those objectives are worth 3 each. In his mind, he fully had won.
Yeah, he thought he won.
He won this game because he had like 5 models on that objective that were not objective secure. He's like, you can't take this from me. And I was like, wow. So he literally went from a 1-point win to a 2-point loss with that one move. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to beat him the 3rd time. I just know it. Or the 4th time.
The 4th time.
He's going to get me. And he's the hometown. Like I said, Tau and 8th edition are the local store heroes, man. These 1,500 point tournaments with these drop commanders and what they can do, they literally they rain fire. And so really impressed with my local scene out here. A lot of people caring about the hobby, getting their models painted. They're scaling how competitive they are. I have not enjoyed tabletop wargaming this much in years, well, at least with 40K specifically. So this is definitely one of the best times to be getting into the game, I think.
Yeah. And Kenny, I'm so glad that you talked about Tau. We spoke about this in the webcast. Tau is not necessarily playing the game on easy mode right now, not like it was in 6th and 7th. So I like the fact that your local store is running 1,500 point tournaments, because so many armies, are just a lot better at 1,500 points. That's just facts. Okay. And I like how the game plays at 1,500 points. It's easy to get into. Do you see, real quick, do you see a lot of armies that you wouldn't see in a major event? And I know that's kind of a double-edged question, because it's the local store, and of course you're not going to see all the meta busting lists, but I know for a fact NIDs are better at 1,500 than 2,000.
Oh, absolutely. There was orcs. There was an orc list.
There
was orcs with all sorts of cool orc things happening. There was Necrons with all sorts of cool Necron things happening. There was Blood Angels doing really. There was another Chaos Black Legion army. There's and he was doing real well. There's a lot of people out there who were just doing some interesting stuff. So absolutely, that's really enticing. And my local stores put a timer on us to be fully painted too, which is not normal. But since Jeremy's nurturing this competitive / casual crowd, he said, and like in line with getting more and more competitive and taking the scene more seriously, he gave us last month, 2 months to be fully painted. So this month's tournament is the last time you can come without a fully painted army. So
that is awesome. Thumbs up to that guy.
Oh, Jeremy,
that's exactly what I said, Jason, when I heard him say that earlier. Like, identical. Great job. Way to like groom your local tournament scene to the max. Like, other game store owners, I know you're listening out there. Like, you could take, some lessons from this. Get your guys involved. Put a low point value. Give people time to paint, and then do a hard dice down aspect. But don't do hard dice down. But make a hard stance of saying, in a month, if it ain't painted, you ain't playing. I like it.
No, been super stoked on it. Just having a blast. So what we're gonna do is turn it over to Jason, because since we don't have Robbie B and Mike Haspel feeding us real content, we're gonna fake it.
So fake it till we make it.
I'm putting it on you, so you're in charge of this failure.
What? Say, wait, what? Say what?
There's got to be something going on with
what's new on Twitch.
There's all sorts of new stuff. First off, we do have a lot of new releases for Infinity coming out. I know that a couple of people have been asking for the October releases. A lot of them nobody's going to care about. There is one, the Blackjack for Ariadna, is a model that everybody's been waiting for, that has got the community kind of divided. I always love it when you have a game where a model comes out that everybody's been waiting for forever. Let's say a Primarch and 40K comes out, and how when we were first looking at Morty, where it was kind of like, I just kind of want to see the real model because I feel like the paint's not doing it. And everybody was on one side of the fence or another. And so we got a model coming out for Infinity here real soon that is just like that. It's like, wow, they really shot themselves in the foot with that one. And you're talking about a company where I rarely have a problem with the models, and this one I'm like, nope. So that was kind of cool. It's a heavy kind of infantry tag, which are the big robots for the lower tech faction in the world, and it's got everybody up in arms, which is kind of cool. But yeah, on Twitch we're actually working on another game that is a small skirmish game this week called Relic Blade, which is a small, and by small I mean like your army could be 3 models. Kind of small, and skirmish fantasy game, and the models are fantastic. They've got a Kickstarter coming up October 13th, so a little over a week from now. It'll be starting up for their third wave of expansions on the game, and it's a fast, furious, good kind of, I call them between the lines games. You know, if you're playing tournaments in 40K, playing, you know, you got game night with your buddies where you get out and you do maybe a slow growth league for 40K or Age of Sigmar or whatever, those games that take a lot of your pocketbook, take a lot of your time, and a lot of your energy. This is a great game for putting in between the lines so that you can have a little bit of variation, sit around with your buddies, play, and I would say 30, 45 minutes, knock a game out. Fast, killy, lots of blood, lots of fun. Got an RPG kind of Necromunda-ish aspect to it, or you know, where it's not enough models to really be warband, but you do have war gear, and that gear can change after a game if you run a league. So good narrative game. So interested to check it out. That's at relicblade.com if you're interested in that one. Twitch's September just ended. You know, we had a big thing last month where half price subs for all the channels, not just us, but any channel that you liked on Twitch, was a great deal to get into. We generated a ton of new viewers. Our community keeps growing, both yours, mine, Rob's. The whole Long War network is just growing leaps and bounds. Tons of new people coming into it, tons of new questions, seeing a lot of, like what we were just talking about, people interested in getting that part of the hobby locked down for themselves. So it's like, hey, I'm sick of playing with gray and metal models. You know, what can I do? I don't have enough money to commission my stuff out. I need to get this done. And I think that's great. And that's one of the reasons why I love to hear tournament organizers really popping in and saying, yeah, we really need these armies painted. You know, you've got a slow growth league. Let's get it painted. And by the end of the time, if you want to participate in the raffle drawing, or if you want to be a part of the final tournament of the growth league, then all your stuff has to be painted to this quality. Well, I always hate to say quality, right? But has to be painted. And so that's good. We see a lot of growing interest in the community, and TwitchCon is coming up this month as well. Are you going to TwitchCon, Kenny? Negative. Yeah, me neither. We backed out. We were going and then we're not going. I
wanted to go, but I'm too invested in like wargaming and stuff, and I don't think that at this date there's a lot to be gained for creative streamers right now going out there. It's not like we're not video gamers, you know.
Yeah, it's still a format that is built around its business model being video games. So I'm with you. I feel like we're a little left in the dust. I feel like the flip side of that coin is that's the perfect place to go and try to get FaceTime with them to make it work a little bit better. But we backed out this year just because we got so much going on, man. It's just too hard to get away to go to California to spend a day at a convention that charges me $200 to come in. I'm like, what? Oh, well, whatever. So, but TwitchCon is coming up. It's a great thing. If you're in the Southern California area, it's in Long Beach this year, easily accessible at the Long Beach Convention Center, and a good time if you're interested in the format, whether to get started as a streamer or whether you're already following a bunch of streamers and would just like to go and check out new content from video game manufacturers. There's a creative artists aisle where a lot of the creative people will be selling their creations live in kind of a mini booth scenario. So it's a cool convention, but it is pricey, man. I think, you know, if you buy your days separately, it's like $200. It's ridiculous. So yeah. So hopefully that changes for next year. We can, or hopefully it's in Phoenix next year. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice.
If I didn't have to travel and get a hotel, it would be perfect. But yeah, so that's about it. We got a lot of new content coming up. We'll be playing the Relic Blade this Sunday on the show. So if anybody wants to check that out, drop in noon Pacific, and we'll get you hooked
all day, every day. So we're going to take a commercial break, guys. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about Astra Militarum, new codex, 3 top 3s.
Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby when you sign up at thelongwar.net. you gain an instant promotional discount, good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. Elric'sHobbies.com.
And we're back. Juice being our resident expert at Astra Militarum, who never gets anything wrong, not even how many shots a Lehman Russ battle tank has. I want to turn it over to you.
I've never once been wrong. My codex, when I get it, will say 2d6 take the highest because I wrote it in there. That's what happens when units don't get played a lot. But Astra Militarum is here. It's been like Christmas for 40K for me here lately. AdMech, Astra Militarum, hopefully before December, we'll get some NID love. So the trifecta will be complete. So let's start with top three changes, in my opinion, as of so far, what we've seen from Astra Militarum before and now.
So we have three categories, right? What category are we starting with?
Changes.
Oh, top three changes. So this is that's not necessarily positive or negative. These are just the biggest, in your opinion, as an Astra Militarum player, changes.
Yep. Yeah. And more importantly, because I'm sure, once I'm able to dive in and I can compare this and this, but specifically too about the way that I play lists and what I see coming. Number one has to be conscripts, the idea of them and where they're at and where they're going to be. Conscripts can only be in the 30-man units now versus 50 before as a high. So that's a massive change. Just imagine your unit size to a maximum getting cut in half. Pretty big change. Also, orders don't affect them the same way. You got to roll a 4 up to make an order happen.
That's kind of a big deal. I'd say the unit size is not super crucial, but I think these are both solid fixes, not nerfs, but fixes. They're both in line with things that we mentioned, remember?
And let's talk about one aspect. We'll play devil's advocate, right? Kenny, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna tell you why I don't give a damn about on the roll of a 4 up, like first rank, second rank fire, whatever. Like I'm trying to truly kill one Space Marine. I really don't care. Like, wow, you're gonna tell me I get to reroll ones to hit or ones to wound on a unit? Like, But there are some scenarios like get back in the fight.
Was that my cue to say that? Was not my cue to say get back in the fight.
It's okay. So get back in the fight. Like
that's the
absolutely.
One. Playing against them, that's my number one concern. Is that I like the vortex combo, which is what I call like how the pile-in drags that I like to do. Mm-hmm. At the tiny dog alert.
Tiny dog.
Everyone has to drink if they're playing the next level painting drinking game. But that's my biggest concern is like it's really hard to vortex these, big units into combats without getting shot at.
Yeah. And that's massive. Like get back in the fight, not only to get back in and shoot something, but it's a force multiplier for sure. More than I am already going to shoot you with a bunch of shots. Now I get to shoot you with more with first rank, second rank fire. And a lot of times first rank, second rank fire isn't that as big a deal because your units are strung out. Okay, so you're not actually getting the volume of firepower, but we're saying here, get out of combat and still be able to have offensive capability. That's a twofer. Pretty strong. So conscripts would definitely be on the list, the number one major change. Also, because conscripts were kind of the boogeymen in the room that kind of frustrated people when that didn't play Astra Militarum. So Lehman Russes, and Lehman Russ could actually be fighting for that number one spot, but GW definitely has their hands on the pulse of what the community is playing and isn't playing, and you can tell by these rules. Okay, battle forged armies, Lehman Russes can be objective secured, massive. Is it as big of a deal because, at the end of the day, you have to have more objective secured units and more models within, but we're talking chilling in the backfield, and now you can dwindle some things down. Like it has play. It's a rule that they could have just as easily not given to them. Okay. Also, rules where if they move less than half of their total distance, they get to shoot twice. That is unreal. People
That's
are playing
huge rule.
That I can't even describe the magnitude of that. There's no command points to. There is no. You have to buy a 300-point Swarm Lord to make one unit be able to double action. Like Lemon Russ, every turn can double shoot, double action. Unreal. That is massive. Way to take firepower and multiply it to a unit that isn't seeing play right now, and hasn't really seen play since last edition, when because of the insurgent or the firepower that the Wyverns and the Manticores can bring. So good job, GW, and they lowered the price.
Yeah, 10-point reduction in cost
of the Lehman Russ. That is massive. And considering you don't have to buy the sponsons, you don't have to buy sponsons. You can just take
the world's most iconic Imperial Guard tank. Just got viable.
Something that is going to be a daily reminder versus conscripts will come and go, but you're going to feel the effects of this for a while. The Earthshaker. The Earthshaker is not only this weapon. Is not only on a carriage, it's not only on a weapon platform, it is on the Basilisk. So it goes from -2 Ren to -3. That is massive.
And we're saying the reason this is so huge is because this is already a staple of every tournament winning Astra Militarum list. They already have half a dozen Earthshaker cannons in their army in some way, shape, or form. And they've been winning their games on -2 Ren D3 damage. And now, the way you look at it, and some people have the Astropath, isn't he the minus cover save guy?
Within 12 inches of an Astropath, a single enemy unit can, yep.
A lot of dudes put those guys in the army to try to work that angle. But what I'm saying here now is don't look at this thing as it just got a bonus AP. Look at it as if it just now ignores cover. Because if you're used to one roll and you're already winning tournaments with it, and now you just said they ignore cover, it's almost the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that much, it's that much stronger. So conscripts currently, we're saying they got a little bit of a fix, the orders issue and how big the squads can be, but the Earthshaker just got even better.
Yeah, just got better. Also would like to note that obviously we don't have the rules yet from Forge World to speak on the very points effective 80-point carriages and whatnot for the Earthshaker weapons. Now, the Basilisk itself did also get a few points cheaper. So where its counterpart, the Manticore, stayed the same. If that hasn't told you that GW hasn't sold a couple Basilisks in a while.
It got better, got cheaper, and is already half a dozen of them in every winning Astra Militarum list.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yep. When the good get better. Okay, so let's turn it over to regiments and doctrines. So top 3 doctrines or regiments that you're going to be seeing across. We're going to do this in reverse order now. One that you probably haven't heard of, nor we'll see if other people agree, but Armageddon. I absolutely love what Armageddon does. Any infantry model gets to shoot rapid fire weapons at 18 inches instead of 12. Or the actual words, let me pull it up right now, says half the distance instead of half your distance. So does that mean, I guess 12 would still be the max because there's nobody that rapid fires under 12.
Is this the one you like, or is the double shots one the one you like?
You get to Armageddon. You get to double shot up to 18 inches. So you get to double the number of attacks when shooting rapid fire weapons at 18 inches instead of 12. So now you pair that with first rank, second rank fire, and now you get that extra 6 inches of rapid fire.
So you get to double your shots with a plus 6 inch buff, and that stacks obviously with first rank, second rank, and that changes the whole math on the way you do your bubble wraps, thus getting way more
Way more efficiency.
Way more efficiency.
Way more efficient. Yeah. And to put that, I love how every one of the doctrines that are out there affects infantry units and vehicles in the same time.
So what does this one do for the vehicles?
Treat attacks that have AP -1 at AP 0.
Wait, say that again.
When you're shooting at a vehicle that has the Armageddon doctrine, if I am shooting at it with a heavy bolter, I do not take the -1. I ignore -1 AP.
So just across the board, -1 AP is a 0 AP.
Does not exist.
Damn, that's pretty solid.
But it does not, from what we're seeing, until we see a designer note or until we see an FAQ or an errata, that does not scale up. So where if I get hit with AP2, it only is AP1. If I get hit with AP3, it's only -2. So I would like for it to say that, but we'll take it.
Not right now.
Yep.
So what's your second pick?
Valhalla. Really enjoy that. And for a couple of the reasons that you have pointed out, this works without any other gimmicks or tricks. Infantry units with this doctrine have the total have the number of models that flee, rounding up if they fail a morale check. So as you say, that's a built-in commissar.
Yep, that's the mini commissar buff. So you can kind of reliably go off and do crazy things and not lose your models at a very slow trickle.
And come to find out, when you don't have to start buying commissars, that saves you points. And when you're talking about saving 30, 60, 90 points, depending on how many characters you're running around, that is going to free up points to allow you to buy other stuff in the Astra Militarum book that is so point effective, you know? But the main one that we love it for is for vehicles. This doctrine will allow you to have, if you have the damage table, double the number of wounds that you have remaining for the purpose of determining what their characteristics are. That's huge.
So that means vehicles are shooting at their max profile for much longer.
For pretty much the entire game. Until they go kaboom, do they truly start feeling the negative. I can't tell you how many times you're going to shoot that basilisk now and want to shoot twice, and all of a sudden you are going to need those double shots because you're hitting on 5s. You know, now hitting on 4s for as long as possible, pretty strong. And then lastly, but obviously not least, is the Catechin.
Catechin's still number 1.
Catechin is unarguably number 1. All infantry models get +1 to their strength. And if you're within 6 inches of a character, you get +1 to your leadership.
Two strong things.
But we're not done there. You know, you get each time a vehicle with this doctrine fires a ranged weapon that makes a random number of attacks. You can re-roll one of the dice used to determine what the number of attacks is.
So the reason this is gangster goes all the way back to what we just talked about. So Catechins, apply that to everything we just talked about. It's already the number 1 list in 40K is Astra Militarum Catechins.
Harker Catechins.
So we got conscripts, smaller squads. They don't auto pass orders, but now they're strength 4. They're Catechin, and so that's a huge deterrent. That's shooting, finishing off the Marines in close combat. Now you wound on 4s instead of 5s. But basilisks or Earthshaker platforms, which we just explained, have a huge buff now. That, like I said, a half a dozen of these in every Catechin list. These things roll 2 dice and pick the highest for determining how many shots they have, and now they get to reroll one of those dice. And it took a point reduction. So when you combine Catechin with what's already winning every tournament, what?
Yeah.
And now we also talked about Lehman Russes a second ago, where they can double fire. I mean, just apply Catechin to that too.
Yep.
Because they randomize their shots too.
It is as strong of a doctrine as there is.
Yeah. As much as I love Valhalla, I have to give it to Catechin specifically because they're already busting up tournaments and already winning everything, and you just made them better.
Yeah. And, I don't want to poo-poo the infantry aspect of it, guys. Again, I was in multiple scenarios where I have to have 40 conscripts charging 3 Space Marines, and I'm losing. I'm not killing 40 dice hitting on 5, wounding on 5s with a 3-up save. But guess what? Without the Astropath around, my hitting on 5s, wounding on 5s with flashlights, they're getting a 2-up save because of cover. So I find it that, hell, if I'm going to only make them take 6 saves, I'd rather have them take 6 saves at a 3-up instead of 2s. So you know how pumped I am that if I am going to run conscripts or a guard or vets or anything else, that now that they're all just strength 4, so now they're hitting on either 4s or 5s if they're conscripts, and now they're wounding on 4s. Math just went up. Okay, in my favor because I'm wounding on 4s with a mass number of attacks, and now they have a 3-up save versus that 2-up save in cover. That extra to strength is definitely going to come into effect.
No doubt, no doubt.
So, yeah, last top 3, and actually, there's a 4th one in this because I love it so much. I think it's worth talking about is stratagems. So happy that now I get to use my 10 command points for something other than re-rolling 1 dice to see if my weapons blow up to hurt mortal wounds to my opponent. Like that's what I would do, or damage chart. Okay, so
that makes sense. Is when you're like, I always end the game with stratagem still when you only have 7 or 8 CP. It's because you haven't you've been winning all these tournaments without a codex.
Yeah, I'm literally just an index. What am I going to do? Like, and I'm never charging. I don't ever care to interrupt. So everything I do is just one, you know. Overlapping fields of fire ranks. This is in no specific order in my, I believe they're all really good. Overlapping fields of fire. Really love it for Cadian. I believe this book has spread around the love for anything that you have. If you have Valhallan, you're happy. If you have Vestroyan, you're happy. Cadian is definitely getting their love as well. Use this stratagem after a Cadian unit from your army inflicts any or an unsaved wound on an enemy unit in the shooting phase. Okay, I shoot a unit, I do a wound. You can add 1 to the hit rolls for any other Cadian units from your army that target the same unit. That's massive. I'm gonna tell you why. Mirror match. Conscript on conscript. Minor Cadian, yours or not. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to do a wound to your unit. Now the rest of my flashlights that would hit on 5s now hit on 4s.
Juice, is it possible to take a like Catechin detachment, but also sneak in a just Astra Militarum detachment where you have some Cadian units that can proc this wound?
So until any otherwise stated, I am 100% looking that my mortar teams from my heavy support detachment that will be run
are going
to be Cadians. My conscripts, if I go that route and not rattling snipers, will be, those and my Earthshakers, whether it's Basilisk or whatever, will be Catechin.
But auxiliary units don't benefit from the doctrine, right? Is that what we?
Yeah, so it would just have to be, it would just have to be my conscripts or guard. Like each detachment can only have 1 faction, just like with Chaos. You can have multiples within, Alpha Legion, this and this. Correct?
Right, but based on the precedent that was established in the Death Guard FAQ, where they said if I have a Death Guard detachment, can I use the stratagem Tide of Traitors on my cultists for my Alpha Legion attachment, even though it's not a full Chaos Legion attachment? I just have some Chaos guys in there. When I say these guys are Alpha Legion, they said absolutely. And you see what I'm saying? So I mean,
making a hard stance, a hard case to make it look like you can.
You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. So definitely if you're running 2 Spirit attachments with these mortars in them, you just move stuff around a little bit, so that maybe the mortars can help the mortars out. So all of a sudden your mortars all hit on, like the first time you do a wound, now the rest of your mortars shooting that unit are hitting on 3s instead of 4s.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And before we move on, I do just want to make sure we reiterate now more than ever, if you are taking, and I'm using myself as an example, if I'm taking Catechin jungle fighters, if I'm taking Cadians, if I'm taking Vestroyans, if I am taking anything else, you have to put models in places to make. I don't want to see any sleeves on any Catachan jungle fighters. Okay, motherfuckers. I want to see muscles. I want to see mullets. Okay, Cadians need to be rank and file and look like guardsmen. Vestroyans need to be in furry. I'm not saying specifically with just the GW models. There's a plethora of other companies out there that make cool hats.
We went on this deep last episode. We said we've never had enough spicy rules within these codexes to not care. I mean, to care. Like, everyone just runs Cadians because that's the box that they pushed out in plastic, and they've never given us cool enough rules to care about all these other people. Well, now that they have, I would really encourage all the hobbyists out there to start actually defining their detachments, especially with these guardsmen who have very unique uniforms, very different color schemes. I like to see something going on there. And I'm not saying you have to be a stickler for the color schemes presented to you by GW, but I definitely would like to start seeing. I mean, I'm not saying overnight. It's not an overnight change, but I'd like to see tournament organizers and GW over the course of like the next 12 months get us trained to do this. Because even me and Juice are not even trained to do this right now.
No, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't. I just went to a big weekend long event, and all my conscripts were a mix literally of 50 of them were Vestroyan, 50 of them were Cadian, 50 of them were other random models, but there's been no other reason, like you said, Kenny, until now for us not to be. It didn't matter if I had a Cadian and a Vestroyan said next to each other. They didn't have separate rules, now they do.
Yeah. And I think in a perfect hobby environment over time, we all start, defining these units a little bit better.
And so 2 weeks in a row, I just want to make sure everybody understands, I am going to be holding myself to the same standard Kenny is. We aren't just talking about it. If we are going to try to help propel, push forward, people doing that, we have to do it ourselves. We are bringing it up. We are making sure that this is what we're doing, so either way, with that being said, moving right along, one thing that I really, really like is take cover. If I'm not mistaken, Kenny, I don't remember a stratagem like this. For one command point, you just get a +1 save.
There's been a few rules like this. There's a Death Guard bubble that does that. Like I said, all these codexes are coming out with various combinations of the same, or if not similar rules, and their own unique ones that do eventually the same thing. And a cover bubble has been presented. So I'm seeing this like a lot. And I think it's really cool to see all these stratagems sort of give everyone similar, but slightly different worded power to use their command points for.
Yeah, I believe that cover is a must, a necessity in 40K, whether that's line of sight, whether that's toe touching. And when you start having 30-man units, big fatty man units, and you can't get them all in terrain, guess what? You're SOL. So for just one command point, I will definitely be using the shit out of this.
So you're gonna go from ending all your games of 40K with plenty of command points left to being out on turn 1.
Dude, turn 1, turn 2 if I'm lucky. Hey, and talk about overlapping from one book to another, kind of the same idea of command points or stratagem. Excuse me. Grenadiers. Here it is again. We've got the ability to throw more than one grenade for one command point. Now, this does have a restriction, though, Kenny. It's not just like the Cast Space Marine one, where every model in the unit can do it. So you can have 30 cultists, cultists, up to 10 models in the unit.
Yeah, so like 20 D6 grenades from a Death Guard squad.
Yeah. Conscripts can be up to, or cultists can be up to 30, right?
Yeah, they don't have grenades. That's a Death Guard stratagem, and it's for blight grenades.
Oh, gotcha. So that's huge. 20 grenades. Well, guess what?
And frag grenades are like,
military can do it.
grenades, and the frag grenades are D6, right? So
Yeah, 10d6. It doesn't suck.
nah.
Also, maybe I'll try to find out before. I wonder if that would be able to be paired with.
I think are both grenades D6, man. I don't know. I don't play armies that have grenades, so I'm not really that like versed on grenade rules. But I know it's good.
Ooh, so here's another combo. Like you get charged, bang down the grenade command point for Overwatch. So you roll 10d6, and then at the same time, throw down defensive gunners. So where now you're overwatching on 5s and 6s instead of just 6s.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's got some play. Now, one of your favorite that you found, Ambush. This is for Talaran stratagem.
The Talaran, everyone's secret favorite, the Desert Fighters, right?
Talaran, aren't you glad we saw this? 3 command points. Use this stratagem during deployment. Choose up to.
It seems like a lot, but here juice out.
Choose up to 3 Talaran units to get set up an ambush instead of placing them on the battlefield at the end of any of your movement phases. These units can strike from hidden. Set each of them up wholly within 7 inches of any battlefield edge and more than 9 inches away from an enemy. Any, not yours. I was actually about to say your, just because I'm used to seeing that. Any battlefield edge and more than 9 inches away. It's pretty damn strong. That is.
What I like about it is it's 3 command points, but you're doing it with 3 units, and you get to wait to do it to when it's the perfect moment. It's a super good command point usage.
Yeah. Excuse me, Jason, does that not excite you?
Well, I like the strategic side of it in thought. I feel like it, you just need to see how it plays out. I love it. I love anytime you can get a unit flexible enough to say any board edge, it gives you a gotcha that you can use late in the game. It gives you something you could use early as a first turn tactic. There's a lot of play for that. I dig it. I like the flexibility. I go back to what you guys are saying. I just like the fact that we're seeing a personality for, all the different guard units again, because there used to be a reason to play them, and now that all went away. And now I feel like maybe I could build a guard, or it just has too many models for me. I'm too lazy, but that'd be good.
It's just like the story you told earlier about, you built a Talaran army, and this doesn't excite you that the effort and time that you had put into it would mean something now.
Yeah, it would have some feeling, and it didn't just get homogenized into, now you're guard, or now you're Astra Militarum, and welcome to it. You can paint it however you want, but what's the reason?
Yeah.
If you have a personal narrative going on, it's fun, but it used to be cool because you could choose, and they used to have different stats like Marines. Why do Marines have it for all the various, unsundry chapters of Marines, and yet guard all raised from different planets because of different things used for different aspects of war have always just been lumped into the same set of rules. So I dig it. I think it's great. I think if people aren't excited about this, that they're dead.
Yeah. Look, if they're not excited, they're dead to me.
They're dead to me.
So I cannot wait. We will be tearing up the Beats Lab this coming up weekend with some cool, new, fresh Astra Militarum reports. So I am definitely looking forward to that. Ben,
we've actually had a few in a row. Index Astra Militarum. We got one on the Hall of Veterans right now. So I think Monday will be the last Index Astra Militarum battle report to hit YouTube, and then from there on out, it'll be Codex at Astra Militarum.
Yep.
Be good times. I just watched an Astra Militarum versus Necron game in the Hall of Veterans the other day, so that was exciting.
Good old Necrons. Hey, Kenny, before we get out of here, did you talk about, I know you said it in your in the webcast tonight when it was you and I, but did you played Necrons this past weekend, didn't you?
I played, I got to play versus my first Necron opponent, And
Yo, how is that? Like,
surprising. They're shockingly resilient. I mean, I was prepared because I did edit and watch the battle report. I would say the biggest shocker and the biggest thing that catches people off guard is the way reanimation protocol works now, where it's not like feel no pain or anything. It's literally you kill a guy, you put him aside, and you keep putting the dead guys to the side for that unit. And you got to keep those units separate because at the beginning of next turn, when you bring your dudes back, it's not the only time you do it. You keep getting the roll as long as the unit exists every turn. So if you have a 20-man warrior squad and you kill 11 dudes, and now it's your turn, you get to pick up 11 dice, throw them in the air, and with all your combos on 4-ups, these dudes stand back up in the unit. But you still get to leave whatever 6 you failed there for the next time. And then let's say now I come in and I kill 10 more, and now your pile's back to 16. You still have 4 guys left. Now you get to roll 16 dice, and maybe you bring 8 back, and it just keeps going. It takes, it's a lot. It's a diminishing return. So you have to, versus Necrons, you have to kill those units. You have to delete those units. If you don't think you can do it with what you've brought in this turn, see if there's a different use of your firepower. Maybe if there's something you can delete this turn, because that's way better than, I mean, I literally was stuck on a unit for 3 turns because of this reanimation protocol shenanigans. So it's
a perfect tar pit.
It is, and it's very cool. And they still an index, so I can't wait to see how many cool stratagems they get to because right now they have a few cool bubbles, like I have a +1 to hit bubble and a reanimation protocol 4-up bubble, and a once per game get to reroll the reanimation protocol. So I see every Necron army I've seen has a block of 20 warriors advancing with some of these characters in them, and that's the trap. Like, don't fuck with that unit unless you can actually delete that unit.
Yeah, for a fact they're going to be like, for 2 command points for this unit, the reanimation protocol is +1 or +2.
Oh, for sure. Like against this guy, like literally, a drop 14 of the 20 warriors. Then he pops all his special rules where he gets like once per game gets to re-roll it, and so it's like 14 dudes getting back up on 4s with a re-roll. You know what I'm saying? So like literally 10 guys got back into the unit right away. I was like, word. Shan't ever make that mistake again. That was a wasted shooting phase and assault phase.
I think that's the biggest headache with that, right? Is that it forces you into a position where you have to start thinking about what it becomes valuable. If all I'm going to do is waste a lot of time and effort and dice shooting this guy, and it's just going to stand right back up.
Well, he steals a shooting phase from you.
Yeah.
Steals an assault phase from you. So unlike normally, like let's say I assault your unit and you just rolled good and I didn't actually take it out. That's one thing. You go in there and you crush this unit and there's still 2 guys standing. And then now all of a sudden it's almost back to full strength. It literally did actually give you the sensation of a turn was stolen from you.
Yep.
So that's why I found that very interesting. I found it very meaty style of play. I really enjoyed that game. It's a guy named Jermaine. He's a cool cat. Had a solid game, man. And I'm looking forward to getting more games in against him. Local scene popping off. Keep saying it. But I feel like that's it. I feel like we broke it down. Top three, Astra Militarum. We'll obviously be breaking it down like Juice said, and if we had Mike Caspel, he would take us out of here, but we don't. So Juice, why don't you close us out like you do?
All right, everybody. Head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the Battle Report for exclusive content and early access videos. Become a veteran of the Long War today.